The day Vincent Chiusa buried his father, the most feared kingpin in the criminal underworld, was the day he swore he would never follow in the old man's blood-stained footsteps. But when the empire teeters on the brink of collapse and enemies smell weakness in the air, the past has a way of dragging you back in. Now Vincent is forced to face an impossible choice: betray his family for the life he's always dreamed of, or rise to power in a world that demands loyalty at any cost. But nothing is as it seems, and the game is about to get deadly in ways Vincent never imagined. Vincent Chiusa had walked away from his father's empire years ago, escaping the chains of organized crime to build a life of his own. But when his father, Don Carlo Chiusa, is suddenly murdered under mysterious circumstances, the fragile balance holding the empire together begins to crumble. Rivals from across the globe close in, each one hungry to claim the throne. Vincent is thrust back into the world he left behind, a world filled with enemies, secrets, and a legacy of violence. The weight of his father's death presses down on him, and the pressure from both the family and the underworld grows unbearable. As he steps into the role of successor, Vincent is forced to navigate the treacherous waters of family loyalty and his own desire for freedom. Amidst the chaos, Vincent's old flame Maria reappears in his life. She's the daughter of a rival gang leader, and her re-entry stirs up old emotions. Her love has always been a secret. Their family's enmity is the reason their relationship was never allowed to flourish. But now, Vincent finds himself caught in the same web that once tore them apart. His growing feelings for Maria fuel the conflict between loyalty to his father's empire and the desire to forge a future without bloodshed. As Vincent takes control, a series of betrayals surface, his closest allies turning against him, and the truth behind his father's death comes to light. The empire is being played like a chessboard, and Vincent realizes that the people he trusted the most may have been plotting against him from the beginning. In a final confrontation between Vincent and his most trusted lieutenant, Victor, whom Vincent thought was loyal to the family, it's revealed that Victor was not only the mastermind behind the death of Don Carlo, but also Maria's estranged brother. The betrayal is not just about power, it's personal. Victor has been manipulating Vincent the entire time, setting him up to take the fall while Victor plans to seize the throne for himself. The ultimate betrayal? Maria, Vincent's old love, was never truly on his side. She was playing both sides, knowing all along that the Chiusa family had to fall for her own family's survival. In the end, the love that seemed so pure was just another weapon in the deadly game. Vincent stands at the precipice of everything he's ever known, realizing that to save himself, he may have to destroy everything, family, love, and empire, in the process. But in a world where loyalty is worth nothing, what does it truly mean to have anything left? The air in the dimly lit room was thick with tension. The sharp scent of cigar smoke lingered in the air, and the heavy scent of leather from the chairs seemed to weigh down on Vincent as he paced. Victor's revelation had shaken him to his core. The ground beneath his feet had crumbled, and he was standing on a precipice of deceit and betrayal. His mind raced, trying to piece together how everything had fallen apart. "You've lost, Vincent." Victor's voice was cold, almost mocking, from where he stood by the window, looking out over the sprawling city below. "This empire was never yours to inherit. Your father built it with blood, but you were never fit to lead it. You were weak, soft. And Maria, well, she's just the final piece to the puzzle." Vincent's fists clenched, his jaw tight with anger. The weight of betrayal crushed him, but there was something deeper, a sense of rage bubbling to the surface. Victor had manipulated him at every turn, but now he had crossed the line. Not only had he taken everything from Vincent, but he had used Maria as a pawn in a twisted game of power. "Where is she?" Vincent's voice was a low growl, a mixture of fury and desperation. The truth of Victor's words still stung, but the thought of Maria siding with him, betraying him like this, was unbearable. "Maria?" Victor scoffed, turning to face him. "She's exactly where you left her, too scared to choose a side. But don't worry, she'll come around, she always does. Just like you, Vincent. She'll choose power over love. It's in her blood." Vincent's heart hammered in his chest. His mind flickered back to the nights spent with Maria, the warmth of her touch, the promises they once whispered to each other in the quiet moments when the world outside their little bubble didn't exist. Could it be true? Could she have betrayed him? The door to the room creaked open, and Vincent's blood ran cold. Maria stood in the doorway, her eyes flickering with an emotion he couldn't quite place. Her presence in that room, where Victor had just revealed the depth of their betrayal, was a cruel reminder that trust was a currency long spent in this world. "Maria," Vincent whispered, almost broken. "You?" She stepped inside, her expression unreadable, but Vincent could see the conflict in her eyes. For a brief moment, it felt like time had frozen. The walls seemed to close in on them, and the air was thick with the weight of everything unsaid. "Vincent," Maria began, her voice a soft echo of the girl he had once known. "I never wanted this. I never wanted to hurt you." A bitter laugh escaped Victor's lips. "Oh, how sweet. The princess comes to beg for forgiveness." He turned away, clearly uninterested in their moment. "You two can cry about your lost love later. Right now, the empire belongs to me." But Vincent wasn't listening to Victor anymore. His gaze never left Maria. "Did you know about this? Did you know that Victor was behind my father's death?" His voice cracked slightly, the weight of the question too much to bear. Maria didn't respond right away. She looked away, then back at Vincent, her eyes finally meeting his with a painful honesty. "Yes," she whispered. "I knew, but I couldn't." "You couldn't what?" Vincent cut in, the fury building again. "You couldn't stop him. You couldn't warn me." She stepped closer, her voice shaking. "I never wanted this life. I wanted to leave it all behind. But Victor, he made me an offer I couldn't refuse. He promised to save my family. You were always just a means to an end, just like everything else in this world." Vincent's heart twisted, but there was something else there, something he couldn't ignore. He had once known Maria better than anyone, and despite everything, he could see the pain in her eyes, the torment of being torn between family and love. She wasn't the villain here, not entirely. Victor, sensing the shift, let out a low, malicious laugh. "It's too late for sentiment. You've already made your choice, Maria. Don't forget that." Vincent turned sharply toward Victor, his voice growing cold. "You're wrong. You've played me, Victor, but you've underestimated something. I never wanted this empire. I didn't care about the throne or the power. But if you think I'm going to let you walk away with everything, you're mistaken." In that moment, a plan began to form in Vincent's mind, and though it was dark, desperate, and dangerous, it was the only way forward. Victor was a liability. Maria, torn between two worlds, was a casualty of the war that had never been hers to fight. But Vincent had learned something crucial in this twisted game. Power could only be taken, not inherited. And now, the power was his to claim, no matter the cost. With a swift movement, Vincent lunged forward, grabbing Victor by the collar and throwing him across the room. The man was not as strong as he had led Vincent to believe, and the shock on his face was a fleeting victory. Vincent knew it would take more than just muscle to bring Victor down. It would take cunning. It would take everything. Maria, her eyes wide with disbelief, took a step back. "Vincent, don't. This is madness. You can't do this." But Vincent's gaze hardened. "I don't have a choice." The game had changed, and in the end, only the strongest would survive. Now Vincent had to decide what kind of man he wanted to be. Would he embrace the empire his father had left behind, or would he tear it all down to escape the trap that had ensnared them all? The answers wouldn't come easy, but in the shadows of the empire, everything, loyalty, love, betrayal, would eventually burn away, leaving nothing but the ashes of those who had dared to play the game. Vincent stood over Victor, breathing heavily, his knuckles bruised and bloodied. Victor groaned, slumped against the wall, a thin line of blood trickling from his temple. The room was silent now, save for the low hum of the city beyond the penthouse windows. Maria hadn't moved, her body frozen, her expression unreadable. "You think this is over?" Victor hissed, coughing out a laugh. "Even if you kill me, you think the others will let you walk away? You're nothing without this empire, Vincent. You're just a scared little boy pretending to be a king." Vincent didn't flinch. He knelt beside Victor, grabbed the back of his neck, and pulled him close. "I'm not pretending anymore," he whispered. He stood, turned to Maria. "Get out." She hesitated. "Vincent," I said, "get out." Maria's lips parted, as if to argue, but then she saw it. The resolve in his eyes. The man she once knew now hardened into something darker, colder. She stepped back slowly, then turned and walked out of the room without another word. The door clicked shut. Vincent walked over to the liquor cabinet, his hands trembling slightly as he poured a glass of scotch. He stared at it for a long moment before downing it in one go. Then he grabbed a hidden folder from the shelf, documents his father had kept locked away, marked Protocol 5. Inside were names, bank accounts, assets, blackmail, and one final envelope, sealed in red wax, with a single word written on it in his father's handwriting, "Son." He cracked the seal, his hands cold. "Vincent, if you're reading this, it means you're still alive, and that means I've failed. I raised you to be better than me. But this world doesn't let good men survive. You'll be hunted. They'll come for your blood, not just the enemies you know, but the ones you never saw coming. If you must take the throne, burn the old world to the ground first. Then maybe, just maybe, you'll have a shot at something real." Enclosed was a flash drive. Vincent plugged it into the desk computer. A series of video files popped up. Secret meetings between Victor and international operatives, cartel leaders, corrupt senators, even a CIA agent. It was bigger than a betrayal. It was a takeover. A war. And his father had known. Vincent realized the truth like a blade sliding between his ribs. His father hadn't just died. He chose to be killed, to bait the trap, to flush them all out. And Vincent had walked right into the center of it. Suddenly, Victor laughed again behind him. "You're too late. The world's already watching. Your father made enemies you don't even understand." Vincent turned slowly, calm, focused, cold. "I don't need to understand them," he said. "I just need them to fear me." He dialed a number. A voice answered. "Ready?" Vincent nodded. "Light it up." Across the city, 5 buildings burst into flames. Bank records, weapon caches, safe houses, years of empire, gone in seconds. Vincent had made his choice. He wasn't going to inherit the empire. He was going to rebuild it his way, brick by brick, blood by blood. But as he stared out the window at the burning skyline, he couldn't shake one final thought. Where had Maria gone? And more importantly, Whose side was she really on? The night sky glowed orange as fire consumed the Kiosa safe houses, casting shadows that danced across the windshield of Maria's black sedan. She didn't flinch as the explosions rumbled through the city. She'd seen this coming. Maybe not so fast, but this was always the way it was going to end. "Drive," she told her bodyguard, Luca. "Where to, ma'am?" "Sanctuary, the one my brother doesn't know about." Luca's eyes flicked to the rearview mirror but didn't ask questions. He'd learned long ago. Maria never moved without purpose. She pulled out a burner phone and dialed a number from memory. "Is it done?" a woman answered. "Yes," Maria said. Vincent lit the match. "And Victor?" "Still breathing, for now. But Vincent's changing, faster than I expected." The woman's voice grew quiet. "Are you compromised?" Maria stared out the window, her heart twisting in a way that irritated her. "Not yet, but I'll need a new plan. He's not the boy we once watched from the shadows. He's becoming something else." "Good, that makes him useful. Dangerous men bend the world. Soft men get buried in it." Maria hung up. Her hands shook. She didn't want this life, but she had been bred for it. What Vincent didn't know was that the game was far deeper than Victor. Her brother wasn't the final boss. He was a puppet, one of many. Their father had once belonged to something older than the Kiosa Empire, something global, a council, a syndicate, one that wanted Vincent not dead, but broken, controllable, useful. And Maria, she was planted years ago to ensure that. But then she fell in love with him, and that changed everything. Now she was caught between the mission and the man. Vincent stood in the ruins of his father's legacy, ash swirling in the wind like a second funeral. His enemies would wake up tomorrow to chaos. No more accounts, no more leverage, no more shadows to hide in. He was no longer playing their game. He was writing his own. He called in Enzo, his father's old fixer, retired in Morocco. Enzo owed Don Carlo his life. Now that debt passed to the son. "We're rebuilding," Vincent told him. "Not the old empire, a new one." "You mean business or war?" Enzo asked. Vincent looked him in the eye. "There's no difference anymore." But even as he gathered allies, mercenaries, old dons, digital ghosts who hacked for chaos, one name haunted him: Maria. He couldn't shake the feeling that she hadn't just left. She had disappeared. Strategically, he needed answers, so he sent someone after her, a shadow from the past, someone Maria would never see coming. Lucia, her half-sister, thought to be dead, ex-CIA, rogue, unforgiving, and on Vincent's payroll now. Meanwhile, in an undisclosed location, Maria stepped into a candlelit room deep beneath an old villa. The council was gathered. Old men, old money, cold smiles. "You failed to keep him under control," one said. "I made him rise," she replied coolly. "And when he burns too hot, I'll be the one who puts him out." A long silence. Then the eldest among them said, "Then marry him." Maria's heart dropped, because for the first time, she didn't know if that would be a move to control him, or the final move that would destroy her. Maria had never truly believed in fate. It was a concept for the weak, the ones who allowed themselves to be led by whims and half-baked dreams. But as she stood before the council, her father's old allies, she felt the grip of destiny tighten around her neck. "Marry him," the eldest council member repeated, his voice heavy with finality. "Vincent is too dangerous to let loose. He is too much like your father, too powerful to be ignored. He must be contained." Maria's gaze swept across the room, noting the men's calculating expressions. They weren't asking her to love Vincent. They were asking her to manipulate him, control him from within. But could she still play that game? Could she betray him again after everything they had been through? She wasn't sure if she was playing her part anymore or if the lines between duty and desire had blurred beyond recognition. "I'll do it," she said, her voice colder than she felt. "But it's not about love, it's about survival. You all know that." One of the men, Giancarlo, an aging but still dangerous figure, nodded. "Good. Then it's settled. You will use the weakness of his love for you against him. Play the role of the devoted fiancé. Get him to trust you. Once he's in the palm of your hand, we'll strike." Maria swallowed the bile rising in her throat. She wasn't sure if she was disgusted by the council's manipulative plans or by the idea of being used as a pawn again, but she had no choice. If she refused, she wouldn't just lose Vincent, she would lose herself. "Understood," she said, her voice betraying no emotion. She turned to leave, but not before one of the council members, Stefano, called her name. "Maria," he said softly, "remember, this isn't just about power. If you fail, if you let him slip from our grasp, you'll be the one who pays the price." She didn't respond. She simply walked out of the room, her heart heavy with the knowledge that no matter how hard she tried to avoid the game, she was already too deep in it. Vincent's mind was a blur of calculations and retribution. The Empire was in flames, but the fire had only fueled his resolve. There was no turning back now. He would rebuild, but it would be on his terms. His father's allies, his enemies, they would all fall in line or face the consequences. This wasn't just about power anymore. This was about control, dominance. He paced through the penthouse, looking at the burning city below. In the distance, he saw the silhouette of a familiar figure, Lucia, the woman he had sent after Maria. She was walking toward him, her steps silent but sure. She had news. Lucia entered the room, her presence always commanding. But now, there was something different in her eyes, something colder. "Have you found her?" Vincent asked, his voice sharp. Lucia nodded. "I've tracked her movements, Vincent. She's not hiding. She's working with someone you don't know." Vincent's heart skipped a beat. "Who?" "The council," Lucia said, her tone steady. "Your father's old allies, the ones who pulled his strings from the shadows. They're alive, and they've made a move." Vincent froze. The council. The thought of those men, who had always lurked just beyond his reach, was enough to send a cold shiver down his spine. "They want to control me, to control everything," Vincent muttered, more to himself than Lucia. "That's not all," Lucia continued. "Maria's part of their plan now. They're using her to control you." Vincent clenched his fists. "I never should have trusted her." Lucia raised an eyebrow. "You still trust her, don't you?" Vincent turned sharply toward her. "This isn't about trust. This is about survival." Lucia's lips curled into a faint smile. "Then you know what you have to do. You can't wait around for them to make the next move. You make it first." Vincent nodded, his mind already working on the next phase. His father had set him up for this fight, and now it was his turn to win. But the thought of Maria, of her being caught up in the council's web, gnawed at him. He couldn't let them have her. Even if she was playing him, betraying him, he couldn't just let her fall into their hands. "Prepare everything. We leave tonight." Maria sat alone in her villa, the soft hum of the city outside barely reaching her ears. She had a choice to make: Vincent or the council. She had always known there was no easy path in this life. The council had raised her for one purpose: to bring down the Chiosa family from within, to watch them crumble under the weight of their own secrets. But Vincent had changed things. He had come into her life like a storm, tearing down walls she had built to protect herself. And now, the storm had turned into something she couldn't control. She hadn't been prepared for him, for the way he made her feel. And now, as she looked at the engagement ring the council had given her as a symbol of her role, she realized that even if she played her part and controlled Vincent, there would be no escaping the emptiness of her heart. A knock at the door interrupted her thoughts. She opened it to find a messenger, a man she didn't recognize, holding a small envelope sealed with black wax. "This is for you," the man said, before disappearing into the night. Maria opened the envelope. Inside, there was a single line written in Vincent's handwriting. "I know what you're doing, and when I find you, you won't be able to hide behind your lies anymore." Her heart clenched. He knew, and he was coming for her. Vincent's plan was set. He knew where Maria would be, the safe house that the council had set up for her, but he also knew the risks. If he walked into that den of vipers, he would be walking straight into a trap. The council wouldn't make it easy, but he didn't care anymore. His life was no longer about survival. It was about taking back control. His phone rang. Lucia's name flashed on the screen. "They know you're coming," she said, "but they're not prepared for you. You'll have the element of surprise." "I don't need surprise," Vincent replied, his voice filled with steel. "I need to end this, now." The villa sat perched on a cliffside, ancient stone walls cloaked in moonlight. Inside, behind its luxurious trappings and high walls, waited the last stronghold of the council, a place where deals had been forged in silence and empires built in blood. Tonight, it would burn. She stood at the center of the grand hall, surrounded by men who believed they ruled the world. They spoke in calm tones, sipping wine and playing gods. The engagement ring felt like a shackle on her finger. Her heart beat violently beneath her calm expression. Vincent was coming. She could feel it, not in fear, but in something deeper, inevitable. The council leader, the cold-eyed elder known only as Santo, looked at her. "You still have time to stop him. Convince him to surrender. Spare him a fate worse than death." Maria met his gaze. "You've never understood Vincent. You've never understood love," he scoffed. "And you think love will protect him from us?" "No," she said softly, "but it will destroy you." She slipped the ring from her finger and dropped it onto the marble floor. The sound echoed like a gunshot. "You're no longer in control," she whispered. "I am." Dressed in black, Vincent stepped through the gates of the villa with a squad of ghosts behind him, Lucia leading them with silent precision. No warning, no mercy. He'd given Maria the message. Now he needed the truth. Gunfire broke the night's peace. The council's guards scrambled, but Vincent's team moved like wraiths. One by one, the Empire's oldest men fell. Their power meant nothing here, not in the face of Vincent's rage. Vincent entered the main hall, just as Maria stood alone among the council members, now cornered, their confidence shaken. Santo raised a gun toward her. Vincent fired first. Santo crumpled. The room was still. Vincent lowered his weapon, breathing hard. He looked at Maria, unsure of what he'd see, but her eyes were already on him. No fear, no tears. Just the woman he once loved, and maybe still did. "Why?" he asked, voice rough. "Why play both sides?" Maria stepped forward. "Because I was born into this world broken, raised by men like them to destroy men like you. But you," her voice broke, "you were the only thing that ever felt real. And I was afraid of it." Vincent's voice dropped. "So which side are you on now?" She didn't answer with words. She walked to his side, stood beside him, and turned to the last of the council, still breathing. "Giancarlo." "Tell the others," she said coldly. "The age of kings is over. We answer to no one now." Giancarlo tried to speak, but Lucia stepped forward and silenced him with a shot. It was over. 1 week later, the ashes had settled. The Kyosa Empire was no more. In its place, something new had begun to rise. Cleaner, more covert, more dangerous. A network run not by fear alone, but by strategy, silence, and precision. Vincent didn't want to rule the world. He just wanted to never be ruled again. In the shadows of a coastal city, he and Maria stood on the balcony of a new home. No bodyguards, no cameras, no games. He looked at her. "Do you regret it?" he asked. Maria shook her head slowly. "No, I regret everything before it." They kissed. Not the kind that burns with desperation, but the kind that seals something sacred. Not peace, but partnership. And for once, both knew exactly where they stood, together, at the end of the empire, and at the beginning of something far more dangerous. Love built in the fire.